3 stories up in a building with flammable cladding. The instruction for those living in these leasehold flats in Manchester changed last year from stay put to evacuate in the event of a fire. But for disabled people like Georgie, that isn't so straightforward.
I can't leave my flat on my own, which is deeply worrying for not only myself, but those who care about me.
She asked her building management to provide an evacuation chair and a personalised plan known as a PEEP to help her escape in the event of an emergency, but they refused. Instead, they said she should wait inside to be rescued.
There wasn't even a discussion. The decision was just made. It made me feel upset, angry, and that I was being denied a plan and equipment that would have reduced risk and made me feel safer. It's another example of disabled people's lives not being seen as equal to those of non-disabled people.
The government has recognised this as an issue and have begun a consultation on mandatory PEEPs, but it would only be for buildings that are 7 stories or higher, so wouldn't benefit Georgie.
Fire does not discriminate height-wise. If you need help to evacuate, then you need help, however high the building you live in is.
Georgie's managing agent told us that fire services would evacuate disabled residents in the event of a fire, who they say are aware of any special circumstances, and that their role only allows for schemes put in place by the government. Disabled people need no reminder of the risk to their lives in a fire. The one at Grenfell Tower claimed the lives of over 40% of disabled residents living there. But in the 4 years since, campaigners say not enough has changed to stop that disparity. And with a fire that spreads over 2 floors or more happening every 10 days in England, they want personal emergency evacuation plans for any resident that can't leave unaided to become mandatory now.
I don't think there are many of us who would live in a building where there was no means of escape, no stairwell, no fire-protected lift, and we had to wait to be rescued, which of course is the situation for tens of thousands of residents who are disabled and live in multi-storey buildings.
Elspeth Grant has been drawing up PEEPs for those who have been refused them. She says it's not just to protect disabled people from fire, but from further injury too.
It doesn't take much imagination if you have a spinal injury and you're scooped up in a rescue with no pre-planning, that injury could become much worse. You could end up starting the day as a paraplegic, end up as a quadriplegic.
We asked local English councils how many disabled residents they have living in accommodation above the ground floor and how many residents have PEEPs. The results show an inconsistent approach in the absence of clear guidance. For example, in Bristol City, they have over 3,000 disabled people living above the ground floor, but none of them have PEEPs. In both Lewisham and Tamworth, nearly 200 disabled residents live above the ground floor, but 0 PEEPs are in place. But some councils, like Oldham and North Tyneside, do PEEPs for anyone that would struggle to get out, including the ground floor. And the issue is prevalent in private housing too. Joe and his wife Liz are still trying to get a PEEP for him. They were told by their building management to wait in a refuge area if there was a fire, but there's no refuge area in their block. And with flammable cladding on their building, they live in constant worry.
What's the fear? That I can't get Joe out and he dies.
For me, it's getting cremated alive. That's my fear. Someone in an office somewhere is not valuing my life. It's not my fault I'm disabled. It's not my fault I live in a block that has unsafe cladding, but it's someone's responsibility that they've chosen to not produce an evacuation plan for me.
Georgie eventually got a PEEP and an evacuation chair, but she had to crowdfund for it. She says it left her feeling upset and angry.
What about human rights? What about equality? About equal access to means of escape? If the tables were turned and it was only disabled people who were able to evacuate and everyone else had to stay put, do you think that people would just accept that?